Well, I'm very happy to be able to introduce our presenter today, Nicholas Anastas, PhD, MS, who is with the US Environmental Protection Agency, Region 1, New England. And Nicholas Anastas is a green chemist in the Office of Environmental Stewardship at US EPA Region 1, New England. He holds a PhD in environmental environmental, earth, and ocean sciences from the University of Massachusetts at Boston, and an MS in pharmacology from Northeastern University. He has over 23 years of experience as a toxicologist, environmental scientist, and regulator. He was trained as a pharmacologist and analytical chemist, and he has developed standards and guidelines for drinking water. He's performed human health and ecological risk assessments, and has taught quality assurance and data evaluation for regulators, public entities, and at the university level. This breadth of experience has prepared Dr. Anastas to holistically evaluate environmental information to support environmental decision-making efforts as part of a comprehensive sustainability approach. And I think we're particularly fortunate to have him as a green chemist and as a toxicologist, because he really brings a depth of understanding to this subject and to the presentation today. So I will turn it over to Nick, and thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Lynn, and I just want to take this time to thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this this webinar series, because it is really humbling and an opportunity to be part of a group that is dedicated, so clearly to the advancement of green chemistry and developing safer, healthier, and sustainable materials and products. And the work, that the Great Lakes Green Chemistry Network and the Clearinghouse has been doing is leading the country. So I will be talking today about the New England experience, but during my talk, I want everybody to understand that I appreciate all of the work that's going on, great work going on throughout the country, and also throughout the rest of the world as well. So I just want to thank you, Lynn, for inviting me to do this, and also for all your great work over the years. And Clinton, thank you very much for setting things up here, and hopefully we'll go smoothly. I'm very fortunate to be working right now in Region 1, in New England, as a green chemist, because this is a great time to be in this field. In Region 1, I've got tremendous support from the regional administrator, Kurt Spalding, and he's very sorry that he couldn't be here today. He wanted to for many reasons, but he couldn't make it. So he sends his apologies and also sends his support. But New England itself is an interesting place because there are deep roots for green chemistry in New England. It has been the leader in many ways. It has produced some of the speakers that we've seen here, on your series, and one of the first green chemistry doctoral programs is at the University of Massachusetts in Boston. So I'm very lucky to be, at this place at this time. So I just want to say that. So a little bit of background on how green chemistry at EPA got its start here in Region 1. In December of 2010, a conference was held at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology on green chemistry, and approximately 300 people attended that particular session, from academia, from business, from all of the sectors that are involved in green chemistry. It was a very successful endeavor and tremendous attendance. And from that particular conference, there were 6 work groups formed, all focusing on different sectors of green chemistry. 2011, a second forum was held in the EPA regional offices in Boston, and that built on the first conference. So the work that was being done from the work groups of the first conference were put together into a report that was that synthesized all of the information and ideas, work plans, needs from the first session, and that document can be found on our Region 1 Green Chemistry website that Lynn referred you to before. So if you want to see that report, please go to the website. Then in September of 2011, a dedicated green chemistry staff was hired, and that particular staff was me. So it was only one. It was one person to head up the efforts. Before I came to Region 1, the green chemistry efforts were part of the work of the pollution prevention group over at Region 1, and they did tremendous work over there. But the regional administrator thought it was important enough, and we had support from headquarters to get this off the ground with dedicated staff. And so since September of 2011, we've been working on green chemistry specifically. So we have a good track record in Region 1, and the program was built off of work that had been going on in other parts of the country. For example, the Great Lakes, New York State, California. There are many different silos of knowledge, I guess I'll call them, but the work has been going on for quite a while. And so what I want to do is just go over how we approach green chemistry in Region 1. We came up with four work groups. So the original 6 work groups were consolidated into 4 working groups, and I'll go over those one by one. But each one of them had individuals who were dedicated and knowledgeable in each one of their fields. And it seemed to make sense logically. It seemed to make sense from a business model or a scientific approach model for these four different groups. The first one I want to talk about is the Business and Venture Capital Group. Business and industry is a real sweet spot for green chemistry. Because of the number of products that are estimated to be in commerce, the challenges and opportunities to find safer alternatives are essentially unlimited, and green chemistry is based on innovation. So the marketplace is a great place to look for opportunities. The Chemical Abstract Service Registry issues CAS numbers to chemicals that go onto the market. Right now, there's approximately 70 million CAS numbers out there. So 70 million chemicals that we know of with a CAS number. And that doesn't include all of the chemicals that have been made. Of those 70 million, it is estimated through the Toxic Release Inventory and other databases that approximately 80 to 100,000 of those chemicals are in commerce, are being used in one way or another. So we've gone from 70 million now down to between 80 and 100,000. That's still quite a number of chemicals out there. And how many of those are actually regulated? It depends on the list. And we in government like lists. We enjoy them. They're useful, but they're also limited. And if you look at the MCLs, the maximum contaminant limits, levels for drinking water, there are about 100 of regulated chemicals. So now we have between 80 and 100,000 with 100 standards. So there's a way to go, and there are gaps to be filled. And for most of those chemicals that are in commerce, there are inadequate toxicology data, and that's another big challenge that I will get into a little bit later. But another big challenge is to identify and document clear inventory of chemicals within a supply chain. So if you're working with a company like a Staples or a Johnson & Johnson, there may be 20 or 25 different entry points of chemicals into their final products, and it's not transparent. So the supply chain is not transparent, and that's a major barrier to developing safer chemicals. So these working groups that we've developed are tackling those types of issues. One of the first ones I want to talk about is a multi-stake group that includes businesses, academia, and government. There's a company in Fitchburg, Massachusetts, and it uses chromium-6 and formaldehyde in their process, and they make little devices, and they use gallons and gallons of very toxic chemicals. They approached us, us being EPA, to see if we could come up with a better way for one of their processes. So we got together with academia, UMass Amherst, their polymer division, US EPA Region 1, and also Cincinnati, which is one of our research and development laboratories, and the Massachusetts Office of Technical Assistance. The ultimate goal is to improve worker safety, reduce environmental damage, and also save the company money. If we can find a way through this project, through this multi-stakeholder interdisciplinary project, we can achieve many goals. And we are in the process of working with that group, and I think this demonstrates collaboration at its finest, and we're very excited about the results. Another group we're working with is the Biz NGO nonprofit group. Biz NGO brings together businesses and non-governmental organizations to find safer chemicals. You'll be hearing from Mark Rossi and his group at the November meeting in Chicago that Lynn brought up. Mark Rossi and his company, Clean Production Action, developed the green screen, which is an evaluation procedure for potentially hazardous chemicals. So we're lucky to have Biz NGO based here in Massachusetts, and we work with them closely and support all of their efforts. Seventh Generation is another group which is located in Burlington, Vermont, and they are dedicated to making safer products through using bio-based feedstocks, by using less toxic chemicals in their cosmetics, personal care products. So they've been doing tremendous work. So in the making the business case for companies to seek safer alternatives, not only is a challenge from the idea of showing them a profit, but also to show businesses it's the right thing to do as well, because green is not only the color of nature, it's the color of money as well. And there are many cases, many case studies that show an improvement in the bottom line, increased profits, and decreased liability by adopting the principles of green chemistry. And that's, I'll mention this later, one project we're working on to document those cases. We also work with venture capital groups. They're part of the business and venture capital sector working group. Often it's a challenge to convince a venture capitalist to invest in a company that where there is some uncertainty of what the final product is going to be. But there have been success stories. One that I'll mention is P2 Ventures, where Elm Street Ventures partnered with a group down at Yale, the Center for Green Chemistry at Yale, and they are developing bio-based feedstocks for detergents. And so they have seen success in that arena. So making the business case is a challenge, but we are meeting this challenge. The second working group is the healthcare and NGO group, non-governmental organization groups. Healthcare presently presents a major opportunity for developing safer, healthier, and sustainable alternatives for use in hospitals, long-term care facilities, and any other locations where patients are compromised and should not be exposed to the additional burdens of hazardous chemicals. So for the most part, patients in hospitals are not in the best position to deal with an added burden of hazardous chemicals. And a classic example of this are the plastics that are used in IV lines and also blood bags. Both of these products contain traditionally polyvinyl chloride and also bisphenol A, which are two very hazardous substances, bisphenol A being a potential endocrine disrupting chemical. So the New England Green Chemistry Initiative is working with Healthcare Without Harm, which is a nonprofit organization who is subcontracted to Beyond Benign, which is another nonprofit group, to find safer alternatives for hospital research labs. So Boston is the center of a tremendously robust healthcare community. Mass General, Beth Israel Deaconess, and many, many others. Beth Israel Deaconess is working with EPA and the other groups to find safer alternatives for the research the cutting-edge research that is occurring in their 190 research labs. And this project is progressing very well. Interviews have been done with the researchers, and we're making progress. By doing that, you're reducing risks to workers, risks to the researchers, and also potentially removing these compounds from the waste stream. Another project under the same group is identifying bio-based alternatives to petroleum-based plastics in healthcare. So getting back to the blood bags and also the IV lines, they traditionally use PVC and bisphenol A. Again, working with individuals in the healthcare industry to find safer alternatives for those products, which will result in reduced risk to patients, encouraging the use of renewable feedstocks, and reduce wastes. So this provides a safer, healthier environment, and also provides some sustainable choices. The healthcare industry is approximately 17 to 20% of the economy in New England, so this is a potentially huge market, and changes that are made in this sector can drive changes in other sectors as well. The market wants these alternatives. We just need to hook up the researchers and the scientists to provide these alternatives, and this group is working on it. Pharma is actually providing, the large pharmaceutical companies are providing quite a bit of scientific advancement in this area. The Pharmaceutical Roundtable, which is a group of approximately 14 different large pharmaceutical organizations, have gotten together and looking specifically at the environmental effects of the pharmaceutical industry. So this is another example of where collaboration is moving the field forward. Non-governmental organizations are usually the sentinels for human health and environmental protection. These groups, Clean Water Action, Silent Spring, they're often the groups that identify early on the potential hazardous chemicals. So we're also working very closely with NGOs in an overall strategy to identify alternatives and to develop safer ones. Now we get into education and academic research, which is a tremendously important piece of the entire effort to advance green chemistry. We need to educate and change the thinking on the way chemistry is done. And to do that takes a fundamental change. It takes a paradigm shift in what has been going on over the past 150 years in synthetic chemistry and chemistry in general. And this is going to take a lot of influence, a lot of convincing to many different interests. So the Education and Academic Research Group has done several significant efforts in changing how education is administered. The first one is the Green Chemistry Commitment. Beyond Benign, which is I mentioned before, it's a nonprofit group dedicated to green chemistry education, is working with an advisory panel of 11 different universities to develop a new curriculum, which includes not only green chemistry being adopted into the chemistry curriculum, but also it goes beyond that and says the 21st century chemist needs to know the principles of green chemistry, but also the principles of toxicology, the principles of chemodynamics, which are fate and transport, and looking at the chemicals they make in a whole new way. So looking at them in a systems-based way, as opposed to the formerly what's called silos, or very specific ways of looking at things. Silos can also be called cylinders of excellence, depends on how you want to look at it. But a more systems-based thinking is required to advance the education of the 21st century scientists. At EPA Region 1, Administrator Spalding has led an effort with other administrators in all of the 10 regions at EPA to get their support in green chemistry in higher education. So that's something that the region has been leading, and Regional Administrator Spalding has been leading that as well. So, but we need to expand the idea of how chemicals are made. The benign by design needs to have input from scientists other than chemists. Toxicology needs to be taught as a fundamental course to all chemists. I think many of you heard John Warner in his talk that most chemists are not trained in toxicology. Very few of the chemistry programs actually incorporate green chemistry, let alone toxicology. The University of Massachusetts has been doing this since 2008. UCal Berkeley has been doing it, and several other universities are at the forefront incorporating this kind of thinking. So there is progress, and I think we're at the early stages, but I feel it's going to be successful. December 11th, okay, not 2112, it's supposed to be 2012. I apologize for that typo. But University of Connecticut, we're holding a Toxicology and Sustainable Molecular Design Conference. So this will bring together chemists, green chemists, toxicologists, and government scientists to enhance the communication between toxicologists and chemists. And hopefully this conference on December 11th, 2012, sorry about that, University of Connecticut, is meant to be an expansion of that discussion. And there will be discussion of 21st century toxicology, which goes beyond the dose makes the poison, because we've seen that in some cases, especially with endocrine disrupting chemicals, we are not testing down low enough. Endocrine disrupting chemicals have adverse effects at very low concentrations. and the current methodology to identify those adverse effects is inadequate. So we need to have those discussions on how to move toxicology testing into the 21st century. So I invite anyone who's interested to look for the announcement for that conference coming up this December. Then we get to the final group, which is government programs and policies. And government serves an essential role in advancing green chemistry, even though green chemistry by nature is a non-regulatory process. It's meant to be non-regulatory. The government has, I think, a role to play. Green chemistry began in a government agency. It began at EPA, as we all know, in the early 1990s as an extension of the Alternate Synthetic Pathway Program. The Presidential Green Chemistry Challenge Awards were developed in 1995, and then the 12 principles were articulated in 1998. So there is a history, and at Region 1 at EPA, it continues to this day. The government does have a role. It can provide guidance on chemical hazards through alternatives assessment, through clear guidance, communication by facilitating dialogue through meetings and conferences, and also through leadership by setting an example that government is dedicated to the principles of green chemistry, buying green products, so things like that. So I really do believe that government has a central role with a non-regulatory program. So to advance these in New England, we have three major efforts right now. The first is the Green Chemistry Social Network. This is very similar to what the Great Lakes has, what Michigan has. There are many websites, there are many places that you can go to find information on green chemistry. What the difference is, hopefully, when this particular social network is completed, is we're going to have a dynamic side and a static side. The static side will include guidance documents, flyers, the 12 principles of green chemistry, things like that. The dynamic side will have updates, news updates, also RSS feeds. But the one difference that hopefully we can build into this social network is to have real-time communication with experts. So you don't post something and wait for an answer. You're actually speaking with somebody online in real time. And I think that's going to be one of the advantages that this social network will have. The second effort is the New England Green Chemistry Achievement Awards. This is based on the Presidential Green Chemistry Challenge Awards, and we're fully behind the idea to recognize achievement, in a public forum, because it serves as an incentive for continued advancement towards safer, healthier, and sustainable materials. So the Presidential Green Chemistry Challenge Awards have been demonstrated to be very successful in doing that. So we're trying to do that in New England here as well. And as Lynn alluded to earlier, and she gave you the website to get more information, is the New England Green Chemistry Success Showcase, which is coming up in 2 weeks, right at Region 1 headquarters. And again, this is just to acknowledge all of the successes in New England, give a chance for people to interact with the proponents, with the leaders in the field, and also for the people who are engaged in green chemistry to reach out and provide information to those who want to get into this arena. So the whole point of this, it's a morning session from 8:30 to 12:30, and everybody is invited to either come in person if you want to visit Boston, or it is being cast by webinar, so you can join by webinar as well. So hopefully you'll take advantage of that. And just wrapping up, green chemistry doesn't succeed unless there is collaboration, because green chemistry is by its very nature multidisciplinary. Looking at the 12 principles of green chemistry, making a safer chemical as a synthetic chemist, you really cannot do that unless you understand the principles of toxicology. Making a compound that breaks down quickly to innocuous compounds in the environment requires knowledge of chemodynamics and environmental sciences. So by nature, we need to collaborate. But also, toxicology is multidisciplinary, as is environmental sciences. So we need to look at this in as I said before, in a systems-based way, and look for opportunities for leveraging and also for collaboration. And we need to bring in 21st century toxicology principles, including computational chemistry, in silico methods, the latest in vitro methods, and any other advances that we've seen over the past 15 or 20 years in molecular biology and mechanistic toxicology. So we're informing green chemistry. So we're having some fun, as we always do in green chemistry, because we're a fun group. So green chemistry in New England. Green chemistry is advancing very well in New England. We're doing good work. We have a fantastic group of people to contribute to this. The university system in Massachusetts and the rest of New England is very good, is very robust, and we're lucky to have that here. We've got great leaders in business. We have one of the best healthcare systems in the country, so we're very lucky to be here. But we're also building on the work of other leaders nationally. The Great Lakes are tremendous leaders. The University of Oregon has been doing fantastic things in green chemistry for many, many years. Michigan, Minnesota, and Maine are all doing green chemistry. California is one of the leaders in integrating a holistic approach to green chemistry by incorporating toxicology and also business. We cannot forget the business schools and also the medical schools are part of this entire equation too. So UCal Berkeley is doing great work out there. And also linking green chemistry to sustainability. Green chemistry is a centerpiece of sustainability, and the next frontier in environmental protection and environmental health sciences is sustainability. And just keep in mind that pollution prevention, green chemistry is pollution prevention at the molecular level. Green chemistry is a pollution prevention technique. So it also melds with other efforts as well. So I'd just like to end by, again, thanking Lynn and the Great Lakes Green Chemistry Network for having me speak today. Thank you very kindly. But I also do think that we are at the dawn of a perfect sunrise. I think we're coming very close to the tipping point where we're going to see significant advancement rather quickly in the next 5 to 10 years in green chemistry. I think we've got a critical mass, and we've got the right people to do this. So I'm very excited and very lucky to be doing green chemistry right now. But I want to thank everybody for their attention, and I can take some questions if you have them. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nick. That was really great, actually. Okay, I have one question, and it says, it sounds like you had good support from industry partners. How do you address the pushback from industry that is not on board with green chemistry? Many industry sectors are fighting California green chemistry efforts and alternatives assessment efforts. And I was also, how did you get so many people, and when you had 30 people turn out the first time, how did you get so many industries on board with you?
Yeah, no, I think it was 300.
300?
There was 300 there, yeah, not 30.
300, so more so.
Oh yeah, we had quite a few people at that first event. But we're also lucky here too that we have we have a group of people who are just very dedicated and excited. And by showing, in a business case, showing that green chemistry is, not only good for, Earth and its people, and making safer chemicals is good, from an altruistic point of view, but emphasizing that it's good from a business point of view. You make money. You either make money by inventing a new product that's safer, so you make a safer alternative, or you show them that they're saving money by changing their process. In the case of the company we're working with in Fitchburg, they're not buying toxic chemicals anymore. So, and we're lucky with, we have Staples that's a leader in this as well, and they're headquartered here in Massachusetts. Biz NGO and Mark Rossi and his group, they're in New England as well. We've got a large pharma presence, and the pharmaceutical industry is leading the way on this too. So the way we became successful, or we're doing well, is showing the opportunities and demonstrating that there is money to be made.
So can you respond also to the pushback? The question was, how do you address the pushback from industry that is not on board with green chemistry? And, the example that many industry sectors are fighting California green chemistry efforts and alternative assessment efforts?
Right. Well, there's not much you can do except education. And then that's when you bring in your non-governmental organizations and have them support what you're doing and make the case. I think education is the key, and showing that, first of all, that what they're using has environmental or public health consequences. B, that there is a process there called alternatives assessment, where you can rank the bad actors, rank them from bad to least bad, or whatever it is. And if that doesn't work out, then there's this thing called green chemistry, where you can invent an entire new product or process that has essentially no toxicity at all. So there is a process that they can go through. And it depends on where the pushback is coming from, because you have to craft your message to the particular group who has an issue, with implementing green chemistry, because you're not going to convince a business to do it just because it's the right thing to do. You're going to convince a business to change because there's a profit in it for them. So, and with non-governmentals, you're going to convince them not with money, but that it is saving the environment and reducing adverse health consequences. But I know the California law is interesting, and I've seen it referred to as the green chemistry regulation. And from my point of view, and I know from the point of view of a few others, that is just internally inconsistent. And so maybe there's a little bit of an issue there, but green chemistry is not a regulatory option. It's non-regulatory. So when you start confusing, the dialogue and bringing, regulating green chemistry, and I believe in the green chemistry law itself in California, I think there are only 5 lines on green chemistry, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really green chemistry law or regulation. I think they're regulating alternatives assessments, which are different from green chemistry, because once you've ranked all of the available options, if they're still not acceptable, you need to go the next step and bring in green chemistry. So.
Well, right, and I think that Massachusetts provided a great example in its TURI law, right? Or TURA, I guess, in requiring companies to do the alternatives assessment, but not requiring them to do anything else after they did the assessment, which led a lot of companies, I guess, to do stuff voluntarily because they were able to see the advantages in
right.
right? Basically.
Yeah, yes, it gave companies an option to innovate. And I think, as John Warner says many times, you can't legislate innovation because companies are going to innovate to the regulation, and then that takes away, it takes away the incentive. It's almost like you're just taking away the carrot. And in the end, green chemistry is hopefully going to provide, the answer to many of these dilemmas. Another case in the hospital industry is removing PBDEs from the fabric, because people who are very sick and who are laying on sheets that contain estrogen mimics, PBDEs, is probably not the best thing for them. So that's another. If the healthcare industry leads in this kind of way, that provides alternatives for other industries, like the upholstery industry. So green chemistry is being used in one sector, the healthcare sector, and then applied to other sectors as well.
We still have time for some more questions. If take advantage of talking with Nick here and learning about the New England initiative. I, of course, am very interested in, the response that you got and how you were able to, form the work groups and get them going. I think that we, from the beginning in the Great Lakes Green Chemistry Forum, not being sponsored by the region, being our own NGO, have not necessarily had the resources to do that, but I think you really give us a great model, and I'm really interested in any comments you have about, you talked a lot about getting companies to see certain things, and what I'm interested in is how did you get those companies to see those things? Was it presenting like case studies and publishing things? What were the most successful methods of educating those companies about the things that then led them to participate?
Yep. I think a combination of all of those things. One of the allies, again, that we have with the business community is Mark Rossi's group and Clean Production Action and the Biz NGO group. We've had at least 2 conferences over at Staples headquarters, right here in Massachusetts, and they've been fantastic, and they've invited businesses from each of the sectors in, to explain their successes and how much money they've saved. So if you have case studies that you can present to different industries and saying, okay, we have Nike that saved over $1 million a year because they changed their process, or you bring in someone who is been successful, like the P2 solutions. You're removing petroleum and replacing it with a bio-based feedstock, and it's cheaper, and it's not that difficult to do. And again, education in every way that you can do it. And the working groups that we have, the 4 working groups, meet every month, and so we have monthly meetings that I run, and we have co-chairs for each one of the groups that talk to their groups separately, and then we all get together once a month. Then we have themes, and we all get together, and that's cross-sector education, and it's also a way to leverage resources, because if there's a need in the hospital industry for an alternative to, say, BPA or PVC, you've got the education group on there that says, okay, I can give this to a graduate student, or I can do this myself, and we can move with it. We did that with UMass Amherst and the private company and OTA in Massachusetts, as well as EPA.
And do you bring people in from all over New England for these monthly meetings, or are they like conference, like webinars, like what we're doing now?
Yep, they're both. We have an in-house meeting, so anybody is invited to 5 Post Office Square, which is the regional EPA headquarters, so anybody can come in person. But there's always a call-in number as well. And our last meeting, we had about 40 or 50 people on there. So,
wow.
Yeah, and they're from all over. They're from Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. We've got great support in Connecticut, so and all over. But yeah, offer people options, and Lynn, I know the drive that you have. This will never fall when you're around. So it's just getting people excited about doing it, which you do, and which many others do, and that's keeping the drive alive, I guess. It's tough to do because we all have different things to do, but we can always make an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
And having a good plan, having clear direction, and I think that's important. But I'm just looking now at the conference that's coming up, the 13th to the 15th. That's a tremendous opportunity to to do exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, thank you for that plug, and I'll add to that plug in that we're really having fantastic speakers. Paul Anastas is going to be one of the keynotes, and
I've heard of him.
David Vidosky and Terry Collins from Carnegie Mellon Institute and the Green Sciences Institute, who's been also a real leader in green chemistry. And we do have a number of businesses coming to talk about their success stories at this conference, and we hope that there'll be others there who aren't necessarily speaking on the panels, but will be able to share their experiences. And we are really looking forward to being able to really forthrightly discuss challenges and opportunities, and talk about tools and about solutions. So if you haven't registered, I'm going to encourage you again to register for the conference. And thank you, Nick, because I hope that this conference will, in fact, be what you're talking about. And we try to learn from the success that you've had.
Well, thank you. And looking at the list of speakers, you've got Paul on there, which he knows a thing or two about green chemistry, and David Wadowski, again, he's at the cutting edge and an ardent supporter of this at EPA. And Terry Collins is actually going to be our lead-off speaker at our December 11th conference too, because Terry Collins has a view of green chemistry that is inspirational and informative. So he's a great speaker. And when you get Mark Rossi's group in there providing tools, you say, how do I know, that this is green or this is greener than something else? They've provided those tools, and so you've got the critical mass you need. So it looks great.
Well, thank you. Yeah, Terry definitely his own view, and he's also, been very successful in the business world as well. I think it's important to note in terms of, developing some green chemistry alternatives to, especially in the area of remediation, which of course is something that's of particular interest to the Great Lakes region, because we have a lot of remediation that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to thank you again, Nick. This was a great presentation. I want to remind everybody that we did record it. It will be available within the next week, probably, on the Great Lakes Green Chem Net YouTube site, and also at the Michigan Green Chemistry Clearinghouse site. The PDF will be available. And we really encourage you to tell other people who were not able to make the call that we welcome them to come and listen to previous webinars and this webinar, and to join us next month for David Vidosky. You can get a double dose of David in November, and you'll have a better opportunity, I think. Have a really good opportunity to ask him questions on the webinar. And we will be announcing shortly our schedule for December and starting in 2013. So thanks again, everybody, and I hope that we will see you at the Michigan conference at the end of the month, that the folks in Boston will hear you at their conference at the end of the month, and that we'll see you next November in Chicago.